Sharing my screen. Can you able to see an Excel and a Word file?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So chapter 7. So chapter 7 is little dry and more of you to read and remember. I'll try to explain some terms which may not be familiar, which is hard to understand, or which may be for you, or if you're taking it the first time, uh, you won't understand those terms and very difficult to remember those terms. And there are some kind of tweaks during the exam that they will make. Those kind of things we will see that in the chapter 7. Legal aspect. Frankly speaking, I don't like legal aspect, but legal aspect of insurance has a separate book, and it's a separate exam. It is a vast subject, and there are a lot of things that you need to understand more about what are the implications that you will be seeing when you are underwriting or when you are running a insurance company. Legal implications. So, so legal aspect of insurance is something like which is bound to law. You need to follow the law, rules and regulations that is given by the government, and you cannot deviate from that because it is not just you. You are a business holder and you run a business and there are customers. So the government will need to make sure that the customers are the priority and they are not being deceived by any of the rules and regulations that the insurance company has. So insurance company cannot have their own rules and regulations. They cannot just come and say like I you know give a word and say like this word has a different meaning and that word has a different meaning. They can have their rules and regulations within the uh, limits that is being provided by the government. So we are going to see all those things in the chapter 7 legal aspect of insurance. First we'll see what is the elements of the valid contract. So contract is insurance policy is a contract. So this we have seen before itself. A contract is something which is under law. So if when you say it is a valid, so it should follow the rules and regulations of the contract rules that has been provided by the government. So it should have some, you know, uh, it should mention like what are the terms and what are the people who is being covered and what are the things we are not covering. All these things should be there. So if it is not following those things, it is not a valid contract. So valid contract, it is the, you know, responsibility of the insurance company to produce a valid contract so that it is bound under the law of the Indian government. So insurance is a contract. So legally enforceable agreement. So any disputes, if you have with the insurance company, if the insured has some disputes with the insurance company, yes, they can go and settle that in the court. That is called legally enforceable. And when an agreement is not legally enforceable, that means you cannot take this to the court. Court will say this is not legal contract. This is not under the contract of law and this is not valid. So I cannot do anything in this one. So insurance contracts are legally enforceable. If you take this to the court takes that dispute as a case of argument and they will find who's guilty and who's not guilty. Usually it happens when the claims are rejected. So there are 7 elements which you need to remember, these 7 elements under a legal contract. So one is offer and acceptance. Offer is we are asking something, that is the proposal. I am asking insurance company, give me the insurance. This is offer. Acceptance is insurance company is giving me the insurance policy stating I accept your uh, proposal and I give you insurance coverage. So this is called offer and acceptance. Consensus ad idioms. That means both parties here is the policy holder and the insurance company. So they both must agree to the same thing and the same sense. Same thing and the same sense means if I say something, they should not understand in a different way. For example, insurance company, I'm the insurance company, I'm saying something, and they should not understand in a different way. The policy holder. They should understand it clearly. This is called consensus ad idiom. So, for example, like I'm saying like somebody is coming in a horse riding towards me. So this is a general term. Somebody who is listening to this term, they may imagine that somebody is coming in a white horse, and the second person who is next sitting to them, they can imagine that person is coming in a brown horse. So like that, when I say just horse, it is a it is becoming generic. Generic means I'm not being very specific what I am being mentioning to. So everybody will have their own sense of imagination. So when I say a policy wording, it all depends on the policy wording. So when I say something in the policy, I should be very specific, and whoever reads that statement should understand the same meaning that I am trying to convey. It's not different. Okay. So this is called consensus ad idiom. And we have consideration. The third element is consideration. Consideration is both parties derive to a benefit. Both are getting benefited. Here both parties, insurance company and the policy holder. Policy holder is benefited by getting insurance and a coverage. The insurance company is benefited by the premium that we are paying. So this is consideration. So that there should be some consideration between two parties. This applies for any agreements. If you are buying something um, from a shop, you are paying some consideration, cash, to buy that product. In return, you are getting the product. So this is consideration. Exchange has been happening. So this is called consideration. So a contract should have a consideration. It should not be a free contract. Capacity. So capacity and competent may look similar, but usually the exam, they will confuse you with this capacity and competent. So the element is capacity. The meaning of that element capacity is competent. So capacity is when two parties are writing an contract. So they both should not be a minor, and the person should be of good mindset, not unsound mind. Unsound mind is um, they they are not insane. They are not mentally ill. Okay, so they are in clear mindset. So free consent is you are doing it as voluntarily. It is not by any force, any threat. Nobody is going to force you to enter into the contract. Lawful object. So the sixth element is for the intention of taking a policy should not be illegal. It should be legal. Illegal in the sense it should not be in the intent of killing someone or deceiving someone or cheating someone or in terms of smuggling. Okay, so it should be a legal intent. So the possibility of performance. Possibility of performance is a contract should be when you give a promise, it should be performable, doable. You cannot give a false promise stating like I will wake that person from death to life. You cannot do that. It is not possible. So when you give a promise in a legal contract, it should be easily physically performable. That means பண்ண முடிஞ்சதை தான் நம்ம சொல்லணும். Impossible எல்லாம் சொல்லக்கூடாது. So this is what the 7 elements of legal contract. This is not just with insurance alone. It legal contract no, it applies for everything, and it should have these 7 elements. Any questions? Okay. So competence is not one of the 7 elements. So this is an exam question. They will say competence. Competence word நீங்க வந்து elementல பார்த்திருப்பீங்க. But that is not a element. Element is actually capacity. Within this capacity, the meaning will come as competence. This is an exam question. Please remember that. Legal framework. So beyond this, whatever we are going to see is all related to contracts, and it will be very dry. Okay, I will try to make it interesting. So Indian Contract Act 1972. This is important. Indian Insurance Act 1938 and IRDA Act 1999. Okay, so all contracts come under contract law. This is common law. Common law means not related just to insurance. All contracts, if it is a legal sales contract, if it is a rental contract, whatever it is, all these are common law contract. So Insurance Act gives priority to contract related to the insurance. So what they say is IRDA. IRDA gives rules and regulation for all insurance company. They give the license to run the business in India. Okay, just a second. Somebody, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so regulators. Who regulates? You know, the IRDA. IRDA regulates insurance companies, agents, brokers, any kind of other distributors, surveyors, and TPAs. TPA is third party authorizers, okay, who work in behalf of insurance company. So provisions. Provisions are registration, capital, foreign investment, you know, the classification of insurance business, licensing, accounts, audit, investment, control of management, expense management. All these are all come under the regulation of IRDA. So IRDA discharges most supervisory function. Okay, so they control each and every movement of the insurance company. So IRDA Act 1999, you know, they determine who is the chairman, who are the members, and what is the tenure, duties, and power of the people. Any questions in legal framework? Legal framework, three important: Indian Contract Law, Insurance Act, and IRDA Act. Okay, this is very important. So there are many other relevant statutes. Okay, so I will read it through. We have Indian Contract Law, Contract Act 1982, It governs the right and responsibility of all contracts, not insurance contract, all contracts. So Marine Insurance Act 1963, only specific statute codifying marine insurance law in India. So they deal with marine insurance. Motor Vehicle Acts 1989. So they deal with motor vehicle insurance policy. So I hope everybody has a bike and you need to have a compulsory mandatory insurance for your bike. Otherwise, the traffic cop will fine you. This is because it comes under the Motor Vehicle Act 1989. So all motor vehicles, whichever you are riding in the road, it should have a third party insurance. Third party insurance is not own damage insurance. So there are two types of insurance, own damage insurance and third party insurance in your bike. So most of the insurance policy will have together. It will have one part which is called own damage insurance, which pays you when your vehicle is damaged. When you met with an accident and your vehicle is damaged, they will give the coverage. That is own damage. The second part is third party insurance. Third party insurance, they won't cover the vehicle damage. They will cover only the damage which your vehicle is causing to the third party. Third party in the sense other person. You're riding your bike and unintentionally you have hit someone. Accidentally you have hit someone and the person got injured, maybe fractured. To cover that fracture expenses, your insurance company will pay to that person. So this is called third party insurance. So the Motor Vehicle Act, they say whether you have your own damage or not, they are not worried about that. They are worried about you should have third party coverage. If you accidentally damage some person, they should be covered under your insurance. Any question here? புரியுதா? So motor vehicle insurance ரெண்டு part இருக்கும். One own damage which covers damages to your vehicle. உங்க வண்டிக்கு ஏதாவது ஆச்சுன்னா அதை கவர் பண்ணும். Second is third party insurance which is compulsory. அது தனியா கூட போடலாம் நீங்க. So that third party insurance is to your vehicle you can insure. நீங்க யாரையாவது unintentionally இடிச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா that will cover the damages for that person. Okay. So employee compensation. So it's a compensation insurance coverage and carriage by road act, truck lorries, which is goods carrier. So they cover the carrier liability, not the transport lorry. They won't cover the lorry. They will cover the goods within the lorry. And goods by seas, that is carrier liability of sea transport. And goods by air, that is carrier cargo which is transported in aeroplanes. And rail acts, the carriers, the goods train which is carrying all the, the articles, not the passengers. And we have public liability insurance. So there's a mandatory insurance if you are handling hazardous goods. Hazardous goods or anything. Like if you are carrying petroleum in a vehicle, okay, or acid in a vehicle. That means you should have a mandatory public liability insurance. That is, if that acid accidentally leaked out and it is causing damage to the public, then that insurance will pay to the public for the damage. So this is a mandatory insurance. Consumer Protection Act. So insurance is a service. I already told you, it's a business. So who are the consumers? Consumers are the customers. So the policy holders are the customers. So they are protecting the consumers. So they will give preference to the consumers. Okay. So any dispute if dispute is okay, this is important question which they will ask in exam. Okay, so dispute is uh, உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு claim reject ஆயிடுச்சு and you are not okay with that. You want to go for the court. So there is a limit. If there is a amount limit, இவ்வளோ அமௌண்ட் இருந்துச்சுன்னா இந்த கோர்ட்டுக்கு போகலாம், அதுக்கு மேலே போச்சுன்னா you need to go to this court அப்படின்னு ஒரு லிமிட் இருக்கு. That limit has been defined by Consumer Protection Act. 3-tier forum. Okay, district up to 1 crore you can go to district court, and if it is 1 to 10 crore you can go to state, and it is above 10 crore you need to go to the national. Okay, so this appeals go upward. So district for court fail ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா you need to go to state. State court fail ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா you need to reappeal in national. So Real Estate Regulation Act, RERA, you can see, you would have seen RERA approved plots available, RERA approved flats available, all this real estate advertisement in many of the TVs. So that means RERA means Real Estate Regulation Act 2016. Okay, so the promoter must obtain the title insurance and other notified insurance. So they state, they have some rules and regulation for all these things. If it is RERA approved means, that means you have insurance policy for that property. So that is called RERA. Companies Act, this is director's liability. Okay, and director and officers liability insurance. If something happens to any of the employees or any related consumers or the customers of the companies, this is liability to the directors and the officers. So they should have a liability insurance. Mental Health Care Act. So they say every insurer must provide medical insurance for mental illness. They cannot just restrict mental illness. For example, HDFC insurance company, if they are an insurance company and they should have one policy for mental illness, to cover mental illness. So this is called Mental Health Care Act. Arbitration and Conciliation Act. This Conciliation Act is, it's a clause in most insurance contracts. That means usually evoked for quantum dispute after liability admitted. Arbitration, arbitration. Arbitration is something which you are not accepting. There is a dispute, and whatever it is, a claim rejected or claim paid very less, whatever it is, this arbitration will have the rules and regulation, how it has to be, appealed, and how it has to be, first, what is the step it has to be taken, and what is the next step to be taken if they are rejecting your claim. Like that, it will have step-by-step rules and regulation for your disputes. That is arbitration. Okay, so exam related question. So Mental Health Care Act is one of the important question, and Companies Act, Consumer Protection Act is another important question. Any questions so far? Okay, great. Burden of proof or interpretation of contract. Okay, burden of proof. So burden of proof means யார் வந்து proof, I mean claim வந்து யார் prove பண்ணணும். In different scenarios. Generally, insured is the proposed person or the beneficiary should prove the cover due to insured peril, occurred due to insured peril. For example, if fire is happening and the damage has happened, it is a burden on the policy holder to prove to the insurance company that the damage has been happened due to fire. That's all. In the fire வந்துச்சு fire வந்து இங்க damage பண்ணுச்சு. That is the that they need to prove. யார் prove பண்ணணும்? Policy holder need to prove that to the insurance company. They don't need to prove the cause of the peril. ஏன் fire வந்துச்சு அப்படின்றது they are not intended to prove. There is no obligation to prove why the fire has happened. Fire may be happened due to anything. It may be arson fire, or it may be electric short circuit. It may be a lightning fire, whatever it may be. But it is not the duty of the policyholder to prove why the fire has happened. They need to prove the fire has caused the damage. That's all. Okay. If insurer denies claim due to excluded peril caused the loss. Okay. So that means, there are two policies. I have previously said in the previous chapters, we have seen two policies. One is named peril policy. Named peril policy is எந்த பெரில் கவர் பண்றீங்களோ அந்த பெரில் வந்து மென்ஷன் பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. That is named peril policy. It will have three components. One is covered peril, another one is excluded peril, third one is uncovered peril, which is not covered. That is called named peril policy. Okay, so there is one more policy is all risk policy. All risk policy is all peril it will be covering irrespective of the peril. அதுல ரெண்டு component தான் இருக்கும். Only two components will be there. That is what are the excluded peril, what are the covered peril. Only two components. Uncovered peril வந்து அதுல வராது because it is covering all perils. So named peril policy, insured must prove the loss by the named peril. Named peril policy, the insured, அதாவது policy holder should prove that the damage has happened due to the peril which is being covered. Fire insurance policy na fire நால தான் damage ஆச்சுன்னு policy holder prove பண்ணணும். That is called named peril policy. All peril, all risk policy means no need because all peril are covered. So the policy holder should prove it is an accidental damage. It is not an intentional. Intentional na யாராவது வந்து வேணுனே கொளுத்தி விடுறது. That is arson fire. It is not going to cover that one. So it is going to cover only accidental damage. Accidental damage may be anything, fire, flood, lightning, whatever it is. No named peril is needed. Just the policy holder has to prove it is accidental and not intentional. Okay, so the burden is on the insurer, the insurance company. Now the burden is on the insurance company in terms of all risk policy. So they should see is there any excluded peril. Excluded peril illana, they need to pay it out. So I am repeating, burden of proof. Insurer, the policy holder has the burden to prove the damage is due to the peril and the damage is due to the covered peril. They have the burden of proof. Insurance company has the proof, has a burden that they need to prove that if they are rejecting a claim, this is due to the excluded peril. That is on the insurer or the insurance company. So any questions so far? Okay, so interpretation of contracts. Interpretation of contract is when we read the contract, there are a lot of ways that we can interpret. We can understand in a different way, different meanings, whatever it is. Okay, but there are some rules related to the interpretation of contracts. Key rules is intent. What is the true intent? And second one is contra proferentum. What is contra proferentum? The third one is reasonable expectation. Reasonable expectation is simple. I'm taking an insurance policy. The expectation, the basic expectation is you should cover my death, or you should cover my hospital expenses, whatever it is. So that is the reasonable expectation. That should be honored. Every time if an insurance company is rejecting a claim, then why we need to take an insurance? There is no scope for taking that insurance at all. Why we need to take an insurance if they are rejecting it every time? So they should honor the claim just because for this reason it's a reasonable expectation. So this is one. This is the third one. The first one is true intent. The true intent of the party should be determined. No strained construction. No strained construction means, I will explain with an example. Example, you know, suppose a policy covers a damage caused by storm. Okay, so they are saying I will cover it. I will cover all the damage caused by storm. That is the coverage. Now, the customer roof of the customer house is damaged by heavy wind and intense rain and thunder. Okay. Now the insurance company, they are saying, I'm not going to cover because I said the insurance is going to cover the peril called storm, not heavy wind, not intense rain, not thunder together. Okay. So they are technically they are saying it is a wind driven rain. It is not a storm. ஸ்டார்ம்னா வந்து ஒரு புயல். ஆனா இவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா ஹெவி விண்டுனால என்னுடைய ரூஃப் டேமேஜ் ஆயிடுச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க. இன்சூரன்ஸ் கம்பெனி தே ஆர் ரிஜெக்டிங் இட். புயல் வந்தால் தான் என்னால் வந்து இதை கவர் பண்ண முடியும். இது வந்து ஹெவி விண்டுனால நான் கவர் பண்ண மாட்டேன் அப்படின்ட்டு. கோர்ட் என்ன சொல்லுது? தே ஆர் ரிஜெக்டிங் அண்டர் த கிளாஸ் ஸ்டெயின்டு கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன். ஸ்டெயின்டு கன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன் மீன்ஸ் ஒரு காமன் மேனுக்கு வந்து எது புயல் எது வந்து ஹெவி விண்டுன்னு பிரித்து பார்க்க தெரியாது. வேகமாக காத்தடிச்சதுன்னா அது புயல், அவ்வளோதான். ரூஃப் ஹாஸ் பீன் டேமேஜ்ட். ஒரு காற்று வந்து வேகமாக அடிச்சு அந்த ரூஃப் டேமேஜ் ஆயிடுச்சு. தட் இஸ் வாட் த பேசிக் திங் தே ஆர் எக்ஸ்பெக்டிங். ஸோ த இன்சூரன்ஸ் கம்பெனி ஷுட் கவர் தட். பேசிக் இன்டென்ட் என்ன? ஒரு காற்று அடிச்சு டேமேஜ் ஆயிடுச்சு, அதை கவர் பண்ணுறதுக்கு இன்சூரன்ஸ் எடுத்திருக்காங்க. அது புயலாக இருந்தால் என்ன, புயலாக இல்லைன்னா என்ன? த இன்சூரன்ஸ் கம்பெனி ஷுட் கவர். தட் இஸ் த வேர்டிங் தட் த கோர்ட் வில் give. So you cannot just play with words in the insurance contract. So it should be very specific. And the court will always favor the policy holder, not the insurance company. If the claim is rejected due to any kind of word changes, meaning of the word changes. Any questions in this example? Okay. Contra proferentum. Contra proferentum is, it's also very simple. Who drafts the contract is responsible for any double meaning. Okay. Double meaning means if I say something, if I read a word, that may give a meaning to a person A, different meaning to a person A, and a different meaning to a person B. This is called contra perferatum. A contract should give only a single meaning. Whenever whoever read that, they should understand the meaning of that contract clearly. If it is giving two different meanings, then the insurance company cannot reject it, because it is the responsibility of the insurance company, because they are drafting the contract. So they should have given a clear wording. It is not the responsibility of the policy holder who misunderstood the meaning of the contract. So contract யாரு வந்து draft பண்ணா? Insurance company. the responsibility is on the insurance company. ஒரு தப்பான மீனிங் கன்வே பண்றாங்கன்னா, it is the responsibility of the insurance company, is not the responsibility of the policy holder. So if they are rejecting a claim because of double meaning, then it is then it is will be favored for the policy holder, not the insurance company. We'll see an example. Suppose an insurance policy holder, okay, so he has been, so the insurance company is stating, I will cover all hospitalization expenses for heart related condition, may not cover under certain circumstances. So this is the wording they are giving. If you see this wording, hospitalization expenses for heart related condition, they are just giving a vague term, heart related condition. Okay. So heart related conditions வந்து நான் கவர் பண்ண மாட்டேன். எப்ப கவர் பண்ண மாட்டேன்னா certain circumstancesல நான் கவர் பண்ண மாட்டேன் அப்படின்றாங்க. They didn't specifically mention what are the heart related condition. They didn't specifically mention what are the circumstances. So this is very vague. If I understand, I may think that is angioplasty. I may think some CABG. So everybody who is reading this one may assume some heart related condition on their own. So it is an vague term. So certain circumstances now we don't know what. We don't know what are the heart condition which is excluded. We know what are the situations it is excluded. So this is very vague. So if an insurance company is rejecting a claim with this wording, the court will order in favor of the policyholder, not on the insurance company. I think with this we are done with chapter 7. Any questions so far?